Jennings, it's been a while. Hey, Greg.
Jennings, how are you?
It actually hasn't
Has
been
not
that
been
long.
that long. You were just here. That's awesome. It's great to see you again. It's been like 5 minutes. You went, you golfed, you came back, and now you're back.
Absolutely.
Good to see you, Greg.
I'm nothing if not aware of everything that's happening.
It has been a while. You're right. Let's just roll with that.
Oh, I was like, wait, hold on. I feel like I just said that. Greg, we've been talking about Des Bryant forever. So let us continue on with the Des Bryant watch. Here's how it works. We say Des Bryant, and you tell us why teams haven't signed him yet. Pretty simple. Rules, but not so simple answers. Des still unemployed after being released from the Dallas Cowboys a few weeks ago. It was reported last week that some teams, quote, won't even bring in Des for the minimum, something his former teammate Cole Beasley isn't putting a lot of stock into.
I've seen the things going around that teams won't even sign him for minimum. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Des was always a great teammate to me, and he did want to see other guys succeed. I mean, every wide receiver wants the rock, and, you know, he's so passionate, it may come off the wrong way to some people. Now Des, he has a chip on his shoulder, and that's something, I mean, he's already an animal already. And now, like, I've actually seen him working more than I've ever seen him work. Like, it's scary. Like, if he gets to another team and he gets that shot, I promise you he's going to be ready.
It's quite a different, quite a different sentiment than what we're hearing from other teams around the league. Do you think a contending team, Greg, should take a chance on Des Bryant?
I do. Let me say this. I've been critical of Des and his performance and his play on the field. As a teammate, I don't question that he's a bad teammate. I think he's a great teammate. I've heard nothing but great things. When the guy is that passionate about what they're trying to get done and what they're trying to accomplish, you can't just be a bad teammate. But here's the thing. When you're a team and you're an owner, you're head coach, you're general manager, you have to survey everything. You have to look at your head coach. Is that position stable? Your offensive coordinator, is he stable and secure? Your quarterback, is he an older guy who's secure in who he is, who's not going to waver, who's not going to let the passion that Des Bryant shows on the sideline impact and influence the way they perform on the field? That's the question, and that's the concern. That's probably, in my opinion, why teams are a little drawn back, withdrew when it comes to signing a Des Bryant. And one thing that Cole Beasley said that really stood out to me was he's worked harder than he's ever worked. He's putting in
that's not a compliment.
It's not. It's not. At this stage in your career. You should be the example. You should have always been the example of work ethic and how to work and how to develop your craft. And that's what I don't think Des has taken serious up until this point, now that he's on the outside looking in.
Do you think he'd be a fit in Green Bay?
Yes and no. Here's my thing about Green Bay. I've heard you say Green Bay a couple times.
And they were one of the teams initially linked to him via the rumors right when he was released.
My thing with Green Bay, from what I've always known about McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers, they like route runners, guys who can create separation, even though it's not needed when you have an accurate guy like Aaron Rodgers. But the ability to run routes, to be specific and complementary of your other guys running their routes, is mandatory in that offense. And that's what I don't like. What I do like is he will have an opportunity to make plays because Aaron Rodgers will throw him open.
It feels like a Tony Romo similarity and some of the things Tony was good
for
at.
sure.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, well, Cole Beasley, he said a couple things were alarming. One was the work ethic. The other thing was, he said, I picked up on it, was he said he was a good teammate to me. Well, why was it so specific to you? It was 53 guys on the roster. Why wouldn't he be just a great teammate? Why specifically was it just to you? Now, he said, now every wide receiver wants the rock. Well, yes, every wide receiver, too, that I know, and I believe this is going to be Dez's problem, they think they're better than what they really are. Myself included, every other wide receiver.
Especially at this stage.
At all stages, they always think they're better, let alone at the back end where they're trying to get paid. They all do. Like, it was a realization. A coach told me that. Every wide receiver, Chris, thinks they're better than what they are. I said, yeah, you're right, coach. So I'm going to have to, man, I'm going to have to be really good because I think that I'm a hell of a lot even better than that. So that's a fact. But when you are an aging veteran and you can't be a volume shooter anymore, and your whole mantra is energy, where do you add that to? I mean, where does that play well? You look at Dez on the sideline, you tell me where that plays well. With another head coach, another fan base, another locker room, you tell me where that plays well. So for me, Dez, he needs a dose of reality. He is not a star anymore. He is a role player, and he can't play and be demonstrative the way he was before. And I don't believe that Dez, going through this, has looked at it the right way and be like, you know something, I need to change, because he's not a better route runner. I don't care how much he gets in the gym. It's not going to make him explosive going to the ball. His hands sometimes are still suspect. We saw that last year. He's not a smart player. Carries the ball always in his left arm. So there are things at this point in his career that I don't want to add that to a veteran, to a contending team, because I'm worried I'm not going to be able to get him the ball enough.
Des, as the Greg, as the days go by and he remains unsigned, and more of this comes out, where teams see tape on him, they decide they don't want him, where teams all of a sudden come out and say we wouldn't want to give him the minimum contract. Are you concerned at all that there's a chance he may go till the very end and only be plucked by a team who needs someone because of an injury? Is there a chance he doesn't get signed?
There's always that chance, but Dez has to be willing to, your point, he has to be willing to look at it himself in the mirror and say,
I'm just going to be a role player.
This may be my future. The one thing, for me, when I look at Dez and his situation, I was in a similar situation, and not a similar situation, let me not say that, but when I went to Miami, I was 32 years old when I got down there. They looked at me as a player coach. Yes. Having something to provide in the locker room as a player, but more so for the young guys, the Jarvis Landrys, the guys that had passion, that you knew this is our future. You're not really our future, but you're a key component to what we're trying to get done. Exactly, because of what I knew about the game and how I carried myself and what I could offer the young guys.
And I hope you don't find this disrespectful to your skill, but at that point in time, where you were as a player alone, if you were considered a questionable locker room guy or a bad locker room guy, they would not have signed you.
What's the need?
Right. It was you were there. If Greg goes out and has 800 yards receiving, that's awesome. But you were there, like you said, because they had spent high draft picks and commodities on young receivers. They want to teach them how to be a pro, how to run routes, how to do the things that. So it was like a wide receivers coach / player. Like that's the opposite of what people aren't going to ask Dez to teach someone how to be a pro. Certainly they're going to ask him how to teach you how to run routes. It would be about production. So I want to do a similar thing that I did with you, CeCe. When you talk about a contending team, I'm going to bring up one very specific contending team. What about Jacksonville? Jacksonville, that has a lot of fiery personalities, primarily on the defensive side of the ball. They lost both their top two receivers. Well, I know one was injured, but they lost Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns this offseason, and they have a limited quarterback. If you were Jacksonville, would you be interested in Dez?
Jacksonville's a running team just like Dallas. If he's able to adopt the same philosophy, knowing that I'm with a young quarterback, that I don't know if Blake Bortles is going to get better with someone like Dez Bryant, someone who's not predictable. I need to know on a 5-step drop, you got a pro out, you're going to put that foot in the top of the ground, and I can release it.
I'm going to be
I don't want to be, because I only got so many reps. When you're on a team like that, you only got 25 throws a game. The defense, we know their mentality. Miles Jack sat here and said, hey, man, if they get 3 points, that's enough for us. So I'm just concerned about that and how that plays back to a quarterback who we saw last year during the season. He lost his confidence.
All right, so that's no Packers and no Jaguars. We're going to get to all of them. Then we will find a team. Greg, we'll see you a little bit later on in the show. Coming up, are the Golden State Warriors unstoppable with their new starting lineup? That's next on First Things First.
49ers should call. That's where he should go.